Hey everyone, and welcome to an all-new episode of the One Team We Agree On. I'm Kyle.
I'm Jillian.
And we welcome you to today's show. And boy, do we have a very special guest. This has been something that's been in the works for a couple weeks. And we finally were able to set up a time that worked for both him and us. And so on today's show, we have a very special interview with former Union center back and current center back of Oxford United, Stuart Findlay. But before we go ahead and get started with the interview, which we recorded earlier, what are you wearing today?
Well, this was an obvious choice. I'm wearing Christmas gift from Kyle, Union t-shirt, but it is. You see that? Finlay.
And I'm wearing gold-blooded t-shirt that I got last year for Christmas. So, before we get started, just a couple things. We did have a little video issues again. We're working through this, so hopefully we'll have it figured out by the next show. But also, make sure you follow us on social media. We are at TOTWAG. That's the One Team We Agree On. And you can follow us on Facebook and Instagram at the One Team We Agree On. So without further ado, we'll go ahead and here's our interview with Stuart Findlay. We are here today with our very special guest. He is a former Kilmarnock center back, played there from 2015 to 2021. And then, of course, as you all know, he is been with the Philadelphia Union in 21 and in 22, where he scored his one and only goal for the Union at the U.S. Open Cup against Orlando. And he is a current center back for the Oxford United F.C., where he's made 29 appearances and scored one goal in the EFL Cup. And has one cap with the Scottish national team where he scored one goal as well. How'd I do there, Stuart?
Yeah, pretty much covered all the bases. Not bad at all.
All right.
So, Stuart, the last time we saw you in Philadelphia was against New England, and I'm sure that was a very special evening for you, getting the victory against New England Revolution, and you got to bang the drum. Can you walk us through kind of the emotions of that evening?
Yeah, it was a special sort of evening, to be honest. For a guy like me who might not have logged as many minutes for the Union as obviously the guys that played the majority of the season, they guys done it really well, obviously. But for a guy that's like myself who didn't play as many minutes as some of these guys, to get that reception on my final game for the club, it was really, really special. It meant a lot to me. I actually got a little bit emotional at the time because it's something that you never expect from somebody like myself who'd only played a handful of games at that time. But the full week had been an emotional week. It had been crazy. Like the week before, I wasn't even in the squad for the DC United game. It sort of seemed as though I was going to be going to Oxford that week, and then my good friend Jack Elliott must have wanted me there for another week because he decided to get hurt for a week. And I got the phone call that I got the phone call in the morning that I was meant to fly out, that they needed me for an extra week. And yeah, that was a whirlwind, but it turned out really sweet in the end because we managed to beat Miami on the Tuesday night and managed to win against New England to for the way the season went for myself personally, to finish it with 2 games and 2 wins. It was a really nice way, and it gave me a good send off, and I think it sort of worked out well for everybody in the end.
Well, it certainly did. I mean, that was just a magical time, I can tell you, for us fans. Unfortunately, believe it or not, we were not able to be there that night because we had another plans.
I was so bummed too. Yeah, I mean, we couldn't be there, but we watched, and because we have season tickets to the river end there, so we're always in there. But you know, I have to say that that meant a lot to the Philadelphia fans, what you did. You that was a classy move, and it really did, help the team out. And you do something like that in Philly, people remember it. That really, really stands out.
Uh,
So I always hear such good comments still. So
yeah,
yeah.
I'll tell you, for me, I was getting texts left and right, man. Oh my gosh, he almost scored a goal, man. It was right there on that, man. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, he's on fire. This is like, everybody was just, for like weeks on end, was just like, man, that was like one of like the most memorable moments probably from our season this past year. We talked about that. So
All right. So now, since your time coming over from Philly to Oxford, how would you compare the MLS to League One in England, and what has been your biggest adjustment to the league?
It's it's a big difference, I must say. Like, obviously, I was used to the British football. Obviously, I played for Kilmarnock for 6 or 7 years, 5 or 6 years, sorry. But yeah, I'd say the biggest thing about England, maybe like the physicality of the league. Like, it's a lot, I'd say, more high energy, a lot more physical duels all over the park, and it's something that, yeah, I was used to. But obviously, I maybe went a couple of years where it was more down the tactical and technical route. But to go back to the good old fashioned British football that I grew up watching, grew up playing, it was quite good to go back to. But yeah, it was hectic for a guy like myself. I didn't play a lot of games, obviously, in Philadelphia. And then to go back to Oxford, where I was playing Saturday, Tuesday for the first 4 or 5 months of the season, it was definitely a shock to the system for me. But it was something that, for everything that I loved in Philadelphia, it was something that I was glad to get back to, was playing week in, week out, and being back in the heart of the team for the first half of the season. And I'd say that was the biggest change. It was just the constant games, the constant bombardment of matches. You didn't get a minute to rest in this league. It just, you're on it 24/7. And yeah, I feel like I've got a bit of catching up to do with playing, because I didn't play as much as I'd liked in Philly. But yeah,
mhm.
I'm embracing it. I'm enjoying it.
That's awesome. And it's funny you mentioned about playing like Tuesday, Saturday, like this is the schedule, because Jim recently was talking about that with like all these games they have coming up. I think they said something like 55 games coming up. He's like, this is nothing for the English and for a lot of European teams. So that's very interesting that you say that. And kind of transitioning to that, coming from Philadelphia and Jim's coaching style, and then going to the system now that you're playing in under Carl Robinson, how have you adapted at all? Was there a difference, or are they kind of similar?
I mean, I think both managers share the belief that they want to play good football first and foremost. Like, a lot of teams in England maybe get the reputation for being a bit more long ball, but at Oxford, it's one of the reasons I want to go there. The manager was very open about wanting to play good football, which
Mhm.
is something the Union have obviously done for the last few years. Both teams like to press really aggressively, so I think it's something that it was a good move for me, and it might take me a little time to get proper adjusted to it, just because I'd been on the sideline for quite a lot of time in
Mhm.
Philadelphia. But I think the way that the two teams play, there is definitely similarities there. And I think that was one of the main draws for me leaving Philadelphia, because it wasn't a decision that was easy for me to do. But to go
Mhm.
to a team that had maybe a similar ethos, and a team that were going to get a starting slot to begin with anyway, was something that definitely interested me at the time.
Okay. And then for you personally, and for your family, like what's the difference in terms of like cities, cultures from Oxford to Philadelphia? Like, what are some things that really stood out for you?
I think if you asked my wife that one, she would be very open about how much she loved America. It was very difficult for both of us to move back.
Mhm.
Actually, like moving to Philadelphia was the first time I'd ever lived in America. And that was the first time me and my wife had ever came to America, and we were a little bit not knowing what to expect. I remember the first time I arrived, there's a little bit of my story that came out, but I was in Poland for like a week before I came to America, trying to start my visa during the COVID issue. I
Mm.
remember flying from Warsaw straight to JFK. I remember getting in the cab at JFK and thinking, driving through to Philadelphia, I was thinking, wow, like, so this is really happening now. It was a big shock for me, but it was like incredible how quickly I settled in the city. It's something that I just loved from the moment I got there. But in fairness, Oxford has been pretty good as well. Oxford, if you don't know much about it, like it's one of the most beautiful cities in England. It's a lot of really good history, a lot of nice places, lovely restaurants, things like that. So yeah, me and my wife have settled really well here, but we do definitely miss Philadelphia, and it's somewhere that we're hoping maybe in the off season might come back to see the guys and stuff, because I met a lot of really good people in Philadelphia, and it'd be a shame not to meet up with them again going forward.
Yeah, we'd love to have you back anytime. Yeah, absolutely.
And then about the supporters culture in Oxford. Yesterday I read somewhere you guys had like 1,500 supporters show up for the game. You had the match you had yesterday. So how would you compare the supporter groups, or are they the same?
I think one thing about England, which is pretty obvious if you look at a map, it's a lot smaller place than America is. So I think the biggest thing that I think England has over America that's not really anything that the fans can do about it is the away support. I remember my first game of the season, we played Derby County at Derby's place, and I went out for the warm up. There was 3,500 Oxford fans there that day, and that was really incredible. That's something that you don't see a lot in America, just purely because it's impossible for these guys to travel 5, 6 hours on a plane. But I think home fans, a lot of people have misconceptions of the American League. They see soccer as a not really as more like a pastime rather than like a passion that it is in the UK. But I think that's changing by every year. I think you look at Philadelphian fans, obviously it helps when the Union have been so successful for the last 3 seasons now, the two that I was in, the one before especially. And I think, but if you look across the league, I think the fans are really starting to show like the sort of levels of passion that they've never done before. And I think the league in America is really only going from strength to strength. But I can only speak about the Philadelphia fans. Obviously, that's the ones that were my fans, and yeah, they towards the end, especially every game was a sellout for the last season. It was amazing to see.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
absolutely.
Oh, so what's a favorite soccer memory from your time in Philadelphia?
Oh, there is a few. There is a few. Um, I think there's been a couple of really special ones. I mean, there was a time that when I first came over to the club, I was pretty like new. I didn't really know a lot of the people yet, and like my wife hadn't been able to come over yet due to like visa issues and stuff because we weren't married at the time, and we got married in the off season after this. But I'd only maybe been there a couple of months or something along those lines, and me and a few of the guys we got to take a couple of days trip down to Atlantic City,
Oh,
which was
Oh,
like it was like a really cool place to see. It was something I've seen on TV, like watching Boardwalk Empire and things. It's
mhm.
something
oh,
that
great show. Great show.
it's not something I've seen a lot of, but I knew of it due to that. And then, but yeah, the trip itself was good. But it's really getting to know the guys. Like it's not a particular moment, but I think the main thing was the relationships that I built when I got there. Like I've got 3 or 4 guys. I was friends with everybody, of course, but there's 3 or 4 guys I can really say will be my friends for life, and that's without a shadow of a doubt. And even for my wife, she was really nervous about going to Philly, about settling in, being away from family. It was the first time something like that had happened for us, but the community that we'd built with the other guys and their wives, because everybody's in the same position away from families, and we almost grew our own little family. Like we lived in King of Prussia, and there was maybe about 3 or 4 of the guys and the wives who lived there, and how close we got to everybody. It was that was probably the most special thing for me away from the football was the relationships that I built off the park.
Were you did you just curious because we have a friend that lives next door to Jacob Glesnes. Were you around that same area? Like
Yeah,
of him?
me and Jacob actually stayed in the same apartment block, so I would have been in the same apartment block as your friend, but I wouldn't have been next door to Jacob. But yeah,
Yeah.
so when Jacob looked out his window, he could like look across the street and like see the corner of the building. You could see me on the other side. So yeah, like Jacob was just down the road from me, and that's what I mean. Like we had such a good bond. Like Jacob knowing that he lived so close to me. Like one day, him and his wife they had to go for like a meeting, and like I just got a chap in the door, and like his 2-year-old son's there, and I get to look after Amelia and his son for a couple hours. It's like that's the sort of bond we had with each other. Like me and
Right.
Jacob lived there. Daniel Gazdag lived in the building next to us, so like we were all really, really close. It was it was a good bond we all had.
Yeah, and that's huge. I mean, it really did seem like you guys all really care for each other. And that's, I think one of the reasons why the team was so successful, we both coach. We coach swimming actually. And, we see it in, that's huge when you have that team camaraderie, for sure. So during your time in Philly, you had a lot of great social media appearances. Okay. And, from the walkout questions, when you guys would walk out to practice, we especially like the ice cream tasting episode. That was pretty great. So what's the process to that, when those would occur?
I think I remember the first time I think it appeared on camera. We had like a video sort of game was produced about stealing the cup and thing. I can't remember exactly who stole it, but something along those lines. There was a video game that they sort of created, and I think I got a bit overexcited on the video the first time. Me and Jack McGlynn were there. I think I got a bit overexcited, and I think the fans seen the British nature of me coming out a little bit, and I think they quite enjoyed it. And then I thought to myself, like, you know what, like, I enjoy doing these things, and I think it got to the point if there was any sort of special one, like Kim, Aaron's, or Erica, whoever's like the people that are involved in like the social media side of things, like, yeah, sure, we've got this sort of idea, and I'm like, you know what, like, let's have fun with this sort of stuff, like, give me something different to do in a day, and like, yeah, I get a good laugh from it. So yeah, I quite enjoyed doing these things.
Now, when were they normally do these shorts? Was it like for like the one with the ice cream? Was that like during an off day, or was it after training, or?
Yeah, like obviously the ones walking out to the pitch, that was just like spontaneous. Some days we would just see like the sign and have to answer the questions. But like, no, it would just be, for example, I'd come in and then Kim would say to me maybe on a Monday, like, we've got this idea, we want to shoot with you, Jack and Daniel, because it worked so well in off season. Do you fancy doing it? And then we're like, yeah, well, yeah, and let's do it tomorrow after practice. So you go out to practice in the morning, just come in and jump up and do a little bit of fun stuff before you have your lunch and things. Like, one thing about being a professional soccer player, you get quite lucky. Your hours aren't too strenuous, to be honest. You get a little bit of spare time to fit these things in. But yeah, I mean, it's not exactly hard work. It's a good laugh to be able to take part in these things. So I enjoyed it.
Yeah, well, I think definitely the fans enjoyed it too. Yeah.
I still say my favorite one is the one where it was you and Andre, and it was it the socks one? Socks on, socks off?
Oh,
Yeah.
maybe it was.
Yeah, I think it was the socks when they were asking about socks or something, and something, I forget the whole thing, but it's somehow there was a meme spawn out of it or something like that. It was just funny.
Yeah, it got to the point when I came out for these things in the morning, even if I didn't have an opinion on it, I just decided, yeah, I'm going, whatever my opinion is, I believe it firmly, and then that's the way I sort of went about it. Like, even if I didn't care that much, I was like, yeah, let's get into this. Let's see who I can persuade my way.
Right.
Well, that was great. I'll tell you what. So let's talk Scotland a moment. Okay. So we're hoping to actually visit there in the near future. My great grandmother came from Hawick, actually. Yeah. So a lot of my family is from there originally. So everyone knows about haggis. Okay. But I teach cooking. I teach middle schoolers. I teach cooking, and so I teach foods and all that. And I want to know, like, if we go to Scotland, what do we definitely need to try in the way of food?
Well,
What's good?
Scotland is, the UK in general are very good at eating other people's food, is what I've sort of realised over the years. Like, Like we sort of, but I think haggis, as you say, that's definitely one that would be my go-to thing. Like you get, but British things like steak pie and but I'd say haggis is something that it gets a misconception for being kind of gross at times, but if you go to a good restaurant, get it the way it's meant to be made, it can be something that can be quite delightful. I don't mind it. Funny enough, you've phoned us tonight. This is actually Burns Night in Scotland, which is like
Right.
a massive like Remembrance Day for the poet Robbie Burns, who was a really famous poet in Scotland back in the day. And this is the sort of night everybody's meant to eat the haggis, nips, and tatties, which to someone who doesn't know what that means, it's haggis, turnip, and potatoes. That's sort of this is the night you're meant to have that. So it's quite funny you ask that on this night that you phone. But I'd say there's a lot of little things in Scotland. I don't if for a drink there's a Scottish drink called Iron Brew that I don't know if you've maybe tried once or twice ever, because there's a few stores that have it in America. But get a haggis, nips and tatties and a glass of Iron Brew down you, and you won't be going far wrong.
Good.
Awesome.
That sounds amazing. And then like growing up in Scotland, like what were some of your favorite places like that you would say to somebody, oh, we're gonna go to Glasgow, we're gonna go here, we're gonna go here. We're like, you'd be like, wait a minute, hold on. You definitely want to go check this place out.
I think as a tourist going to Scotland, I'm pretty biased. I'm from Glasgow originally. That's where I was born and raised. But I'd say Edinburgh is definitely a really beautiful city. Edinburgh's for tourism, it's really really nice. It's got the castle. The Edinburgh Castle is amazing to see. But there's castles all over Scotland, which is really a really cool thing. But it's something I didn't experience too much when I was little. But like the Scottish Highlands up north, which is a little bit away from anything. Like we could travel the whole world. I don't think you'll get much better scenery than you'll get up in north of Scotland. Like it's honestly a really, really beautiful part of the world. But Glasgow is more if you like the hub sort of way of life, the sort of working city. I'd say Glasgow is close to like Philadelphia. So it's the same sort of vibe I think you get, but definitely for the tourism side, I think the Edinburgh is a really, really beautiful city, but I'll always be biased and say I don't ever want to be in Glasgow.
And then speaking of one last Scottish question, let's talk about the Premier League. One of my biggest things, and this was a question from one of our listeners, best soccer atmosphere in Scotland. Obviously, the mainstream, it says Celtic, Rangers, but why is Kilmarnock the best fans and best atmospheres in the Scottish League? We want to know why are they?
I think when you look at Celtic and Rangers, okay, they're two colossal, massive clubs. They're worldwide. They're two of maybe the top 20, 30 teams in the world. They're supported in America, supported in Asia, they're supported everywhere. But when your stadiums are that big and you're that successful, it's easy to get an atmosphere. It's easy to do these things. You go to Kilmarnock, a team that are very, very close to my heart now after the amount of years I've been there. They've been through some pretty tough times over the years. The year that I left to come to Philadelphia, sadly, Kilmarnock actually got relegated from the league. They went into the second division of the Scottish tier. But so when something special does happen at Kilmarnock, it means a lot more to the fans. It's something they don't take for granted the way that other teams might. And that's the same for all the so-called lesser teams in the Scottish Premier League. For example, the season we finished third place in the league. To finish third in the Scottish League is almost like winning the league out with Celtic and Rangers, which is like the biggest achievement for one of their clubs to do. And we beat Rangers on the last day of the season 2-1 to cement third place, and to see the three stands of Kilmarnock fans full singing, embracing this amazing moment is something that it makes these little moments special because they don't come out as often for the smaller clubs. So to be able to share moments like that, for them to then win the second division last year, to get back to the SPL, these little moments just mean a lot to the fans, and I think that just adds an extra edge that it isn't something to take for granted. They know it's not going to come around every week, every year. So when these moments do come and you get these special atmospheres, I think it means that a little bit more, you know.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Two more questions. Did you happen to watch the MLS Cup at all?
Yes, I did actually. Luckily I was off the next day, and so I made my wife. We stayed up pretty late. We managed to watch the final, and obviously I had a few friends over there. I was really close with, like I said, Jacob, really close with Daniel. But I'd say the guy I was really close with as well was obviously Jack. Me and Jack came all the way from Philly to come to my wedding, so it shows you how close we really are and how happy I was to see him score what I thought was going to be the winning goal. I was up running about my living room at, I think it was about 12:30 in the morning over here, and I was just so happy for him and so happy for the boys. They deserved everything, and then for it to truly be taken away like that, it was heartbreaking. I couldn't imagine what the guys were going through, and it was actually pretty sad for me as well. I wanted to see the guys do well. I'd have hung on the coattails of that success and felt that I'd been a part of that MLS Cup. So it was really sad that we weren't able to clinch it against LA, because I thought it could have went either way on the night. It was a really even game. It could have went either way, and I was really gutted the way it turned out. But I've got a feeling that wouldn't be their last shot at it. I feel the squad's only going from strength to strength. You look at what they've done in the off season. It just fills me with so much optimism for the season ahead, and I can see it being another really successful one for the Union.
Excellent, excellent. Yeah, we actually made the trip out there to LA, so we were out there. All right, and then you want to ask this last one?
All right. So how would you say your season in Oxford's going, and what your goals are for the club moving forward?
The first half of the season it was a pretty mixed bag. I think I was playing all the games, which was obviously something I really wanted to do, something I had to get back to. But I think there's a lot of things involved. I still don't think I've hit my top form yet. I know what I'm capable of, and it's a bit frustrating. Even at Philadelphia, I didn't really get that opportunity to really show what the levels that I could get to, and I think I still got more to give here, and I think that will come with time. I've not actually played the last few games just due to different circumstances. That sort of happens when you're Union, it's a bit of a unique situation when you're top of a division for so long. It's very easy to keep the same team every week, but sometimes when the team isn't at the top of the league, the personnel can change from week to week. So I think I just have to make sure I just keep trying to work hard, keep trying to improve, and try and show the world what I can do as a player. And you never know what the future's going to bring. Football is a very sorry, I'm forgetting it's an American podcast. So soccer's got a very funny way of working out. It's very funny where it can take you. If you'd said to me 2 months before Philadelphia, that's what my next 2 years would have entailed, I'd have said you were crazy. So yeah, football can change at the drop of a hat. So all I need to do is keep working hard, keep trying to be the best version of me, and just see where this wonderful sport takes me.
And you're gonna have two people right here following along, because we've been following along, and you're gonna have a lot of Union fans following you along too. I can tell you that.
A lot have. Yeah, I can tell you a lot. And I think I speak for a lot of Union fans when I say, thank you for your efforts, in the Eastern Conference Final. I mean, that was huge. What a game, I mean, that was tough. And then, everything you did last season, and like I said, really, those 2 games that you played that, you didn't have to, and you did, and that was tremendous. And, we remember that stuff.
We do. I still remember when that goal went in against NYCFC. Everybody was laying there, and you were just saying to everybody, get up, come on, we still got soccer to play. And it was the time I'm like, this guy is a leader. And I remember saying to guys, I'm like, and everybody, as soon as you were doing that, everybody in the supporter section started going, come on, let's go. And so it was really a really, in a hard moment, because I know obviously you were there, in a very difficult moment, everybody started rallying, and that was really cool to see for us.
Yeah, I mean, like, I'm so glad I got to experience like some of the big moments at the Eastern final, things like that. Obviously, the circumstances in which it came about wasn't great, but it's good that not. I wouldn't say I wasted my time. That's completely the wrong phrase, but I'm glad I didn't go there and not get to experience some of these massive moments. I'm glad I gave a glimpse of what I was able to do. And if it wasn't for Jack and Jacob being the two best centre backs in the full league for the last 2 years, I might have had a couple more opportunities to show that. But they two guys were in when I got there, and they should have said didn't want to come out. So that's credit to them. It's two great guys, as I said. So, but at least I was able to show a few times what I was all about as a guy and what I was all about as a soccer player, and hopefully that's the memory that the Union fans will have of me for the years to come.
Yeah, well, I mean, for any of the sports in Philly, if you come, you work hard and, you give it your all, Philly fans will love you. Okay.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
And so as we wrap up here, where can people find you on social media?
Actually, I'm not involved on Instagram at all. It's something I just sort of missed the boat on. I feel it's too late now, but I've just got my Twitter. I think it's Stuart Findlay. That's bad. I don't even know, but I'm sure it's Stuart Findlay 20. I think it is. So yeah, that's the. I'm not the biggest active user of social media. I sort of let the Union post in their social media for me as he's seen over the years. But yeah, if I'm ever going to be doing anything, it will be on that anyway.
Awesome. Well, Stuart, it's been wonderful. Thank you so much for your time today, and we greatly appreciate it.
Yeah, and thank you so much. We appreciate it so much. And Kyle, we didn't show him what shirt I got on.
Oh yeah, she got
nice stuff.
Got yours. Yeah. So yeah.
Funny story. The Juneteenth jersey you wore this year. She actually won.
Yeah.
She won.
Yeah, I won the auction.
She won.
Oh yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Well, thank you so much again.
We appreciate it so much.
No worries. Thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate it.
All right. So that was our interview with Stuart Findlay. What did you think?
Well, I thought it was great talking with Stu. What a genuine professional footballer he is. I think it was clear that he meant a lot to his teammates and the fans, and he enjoyed his time, which was great because we definitely appreciate not he definitely didn't have to stay for those 2 games, and that shows what a class act he is for that. And I think that was really important, and it was really great hearing how things are going in England for him at Oxford, and also getting that firsthand information about Scotland, which we hope to visit.
Well, I couldn't say any better. I mean, his love for the Union and just hearing his transition from, when we last saw him against New England to currently was just awesome. And so, again, Stu, thank you so very much for coming on. We greatly appreciate it. And we're not going to be able to top that, I don't think. Until next time, I'm Kyle.
I'm Jillian.
And we'll see you next time on the One Team We Agree On.